Right. Ladies and gentlemen, our next conversation brings together 4 leaders from major cryptocurrency platforms to discuss the broader landscape of the global crypto markets. The conversation will extend beyond the specifics of individual platforms to cover the dynamics of an evolving nature of the cryptocurrency ecosystem. We're including market trends, regulatory developments, technological innovations, and the challenges and opportunities facing the crypto industry today. Please welcome Julian, Vallet, Elke, Karskens, Peter Curk, and Remy van der Nagel.
No pictures.
Ladies and gentlemen, please. Super. Thanks, man.
Oops, I am last. I should be last, technically.
Hello.
Now we have the picture.
Welcome. Please have a seat here. Warmed up the seats already.
Sit under your picture.
We just made a pact that we'd for once sit under our actual pictures.
I'm sorry?
Yeah. We made a pact earlier before we came on that we'd sit behind our actual pictures.
Oh, that's very smart. That's very smart. Although for you it's not that tough, of course, but wonderful. And you didn't change, right? I mean, you still see people that are using photos from festivals, etc. But you all look sharp. Maybe we can start, because we don't have the company names being listed below your names. Remy, Bitfavo, right?
That's right. I'm a manager of business development and partnerships and an internal educator on anything crypto at Bitfavo. And I'm primarily concerned nowadays with collaborating with market makers and projects themselves. Peter.
From Economy, CEO, we just recently entered the Dutch market.
Last month, right?
Yeah. Around so.
Welcome.
Yeah, thanks. Otherwise headquartered in the UK. That's it.
Nice. I'm Elke Karskens. I'm the head of the Benelux and Nordics for Coinbase. We're a global exchange that hopefully many of you are familiar with. But yeah, currently still based in London, but relocating to the Netherlands very soon.
Welcome. Glad to be here in Amsterdam today.
Indeed.
And I'm Julian, CEO and co-founder of Finst. We are one of the fastest growing crypto platforms in the Netherlands, servicing both retail and institutional investors.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. As discussed, we're not going to make it a discussion asking you when moon and that kind of stuff. We're going to look a little bit broader to, for example, the geopolitical events and global economic trends that are influencing the cryptocurrency markets. Yeah, I think it's very strange what's happening right now, right? I mean, people think like everybody's waiting for this black swan that is falling down on the markets that will have a huge influence on the cryptocurrency exchanges and, of course, also on the broader economic system. What geopolitical events are you guys now following? What kind of events do you think might have an influence on, let's say, the cryptocurrency markets in the near future? May I start?
Start?
Yeah, please.
No, I think just geopolitical events in general, like they can have an event on any market and therefore in crypto as well. I think when we see crackdown, especially on players within this ecosystem, it just really underpins in certain instances the lack of regulation that exists, because that can fundamentally function as a framework for security and safety, which remains a consumer's trust within a certain space. And the lack of that makes it very clear that, yeah, it is a space that still requires a lot of evolution. Not everywhere. In Europe, obviously, we're making some really, really meaningful steps with MiCA coming. But yeah, what you end up seeing is fundamentally that, yeah, consumers start hesitating, that there is more like risk aversion in actually continuing to invest, etc. But the issue with geopolitical events is like, if we can predict them, that would be awesome. But we very often can't, right? And we don't know what the effect is going to be of them. So also when you think about like, how can you hedge your bets against that? Like, it's probably one of the oldest saying in the books, like, don't put all your eggs in one basket. Like, diversification is still very much key. And also, not just looking at what's happening at the market level, but very, very much trying to educate yourself with things that happen much beyond that. But yeah, I guess we could predict them, or you could hedge ourselves against them, but yeah.
Although I read last week that prediction markets are becoming more and more popular in the crypto scene, but that's something different. Yeah. Putting not all your eggs in one basket. I think at Bitfavo you're doing, Remy, a lot of great work when it comes to educating people. You see a lot of very cool developments that are taking place in the broader ecosystem. What are the most promising technological innovations in the crypto space today, and how might they drive mainstream adoption in the next decade?
Yeah, I think this year and last year have obviously been the year of layer 2s, driving that increased scalability on the monolithic, traditionally monolithic blockchains. We have seen the rise of big ecosystems like Optimism, Arbitrum. Coinbase is doing very well with Base. And apart from that, I think also we're seeing the restaking narrative, so figuring out how to increase security among other protocols, modularity, data availability.
Okay, that's a lot of buzzwords. For those who are here, like, okay, can you maybe break it down and try to explain what you mean?
So restaking is also, I think, a development of the last year, where you use basically a stake in Ethereum, but not the entire stake is always needed to secure the Ethereum protocol. So you could then theoretically take that stake and allocate it through for example, Eigenlayer is the biggest one at the moment. You could then use that unused stake for security and allocate it towards the security of, let's say, a new blockchain. When you start a new blockchain, typically one of the key challenges is how do you secure it from the get-go? If you proof of work, how do you get enough miners? Are you going to sell them specialized hardware? That's kind of tough. When you start staking, you need a big pile of money in the middle. So sort of using unused stake from other protocols is definitely an interesting development. Maybe not one of the key ones that I would mention, but definitely a big narrative this year. And then the one I'm most excited about is zero knowledge, the developments in zero knowledge, almost bringing back or introducing privacy to blockchains and increased scalability. Very exciting advancements in that space.
That's a lot of advancements. Peter, do you have another?
Maybe I'll add something everybody will be able to relate. So it's like interoperability of the networks. Yeah, it's like, you know, the old times when you used to go to the US and you had to change the phone because over there you had a different network. So there are still these issues. So I think that's something I'm really looking forward to make a next step, because that's gonna, I think, drive adoption, make everything easier, and so on. Yeah.
Yeah. Julian, you've been expanding also with Finst, other markets. Now we've been discussing regulation as one of the main challenges when it comes to for crypto startups and companies. What are, according to you, the main challenges cryptocurrency exchanges and companies are facing when expanding to new international markets?
Well, obviously one is regulation, but we're going to have that umbrella in Europe, which finally allows everyone to work with the same standards, and I think that's highly expected from the exchanges. Comes naturally with a lot of additional work and compliance we have to implement in the coming month. So that's more on the exchanges side, and on the client side, if you look at institutional parties, for example, there are a lot of solutions in the world today for institutional, but there's, for large banks or large institutionals, there's this fear of facing counterparties that are unregulated. So I think this will also put institutional at ease when it comes to getting into crypto, be it because they want to use it for settlement purposes. You were talking about innovation. I think tokenized money market funds, for example, is being something that's really taking off on the institutional segment. So it really helps both exchanges and their clients ultimately. So we're not there yet, but it's a matter of a month now until finally we have MiCA in place, and everyone sort of knows that whether they face a German entity or a Dutch one or a Spanish one, there is sort of a common standard of regulatory principles, and that also means more safety ultimately for investors. So this is something that impacts both indeed exchanges and their clients, be it retail or institutional.
Yeah. Now, okay, going a little bit deeper into regulation, I mean, we will have MiCA, that is now already partly in place, and after the year will be mostly in place. And I think one of the things that is required is for every project to have a white paper attached. One of the questions that is actually coming from the audience, what we will see, of course, is with all these meme coins that are now being created, right? I read that on Solana, the record was 10,000 meme coins being created on one single day. I mean, this is the amount of meme coins that is being created right now. Honestly, I also created a coin myself, just with my own face. I thought, that was just to experiment, right?
Yeah.
It was just to
Where
show.
Can we buy it?
Where is it listed?
No, it was just It was just to show, I'm teaching a lot, show students, this is how easy it actually can be. But one of the questions from the audience is, does one of you believe that you will need to clean up a lot of tokens because of the MiCA, because they're not compliant anymore. They don't have this white paper. I mean, do you have to delist like 50% of the tokens, or what do you think?
As far as I understood, but I'm not a compliance officer and not a legal officer as well. If you listed them now, you don't necessarily have to delist afterwards, even if they don't have a white paper. So if you want to list after MiCA comes into effect, then you need to make sure if a project doesn't have a white paper, then you will have to write the white paper, or better make sure that you understand everything about the project. But there's, as I understand, maybe I'm completely wrong, but there's not necessarily a requirement to do that after the fact for the industry.
So if you want to launch a project, do it now.
Yeah, but I think it goes a bit beyond that. So there's what the law tells you you need to have, which is a paper that essentially can be of good quality or relatively bad quality, right? Retail investors, for example, they can't grasp, okay, is this a white paper that's actually really transparent? Do I understand what's in it or not? I think we as platforms have a role of gatekeepers. Yeah. And it's our responsibility to have very strict listing criteria. And we hear this question every day, why don't you have 2,000 coins in your platform? Yeah. Well, because that's 2,000 ways for you to lose your money. So ultimately, there's what the law says, but there's also common sense, and there's like duty of care. And those are things we need to establish for ourselves instead of expecting regulators who may not fully grasp all there's so many details in different projects, and I think we cannot expect everyone to have an answer to that. We need to have this answer for ourselves, and that will ultimately drive, more like making investors feeling a bit safer, and they know, okay, those coins, they're sort of whitelisted. There's been some due diligence on them. And that's besides the white paper, at least in my opinion.
Yeah, I would totally agree with you on that. Like, I think fundamentally we as like meaningful players in the space have a responsibility to make sure that we protect consumers as well, that we empower them with the right type of information so that they make informed decisions before they are investing. And the issue with meme coins especially is like it's very emotional. Like I don't know, maybe none of you are on Instagram, TikTok, but I highly doubt that. Like, it is a meme coin hypes, right? That get people energized and excited. If only I put in $100, I can maybe make 100 grand. And the reality is that, given the stat that you just gave, like so incredibly unlikely. And I agree with you. Like at Coinbase, we have a very, very rigorous asset due diligence process. Yeah. And we similarly get a lot of, I guess, well, maybe criticism is the right word, but like constructive feedback. That a lot of customers wish that we had more assets available. But the reason for that is that we want to make sure that we stand 100% behind the assets that we are listing to ensure that we protect consumers. Because in longevity, like in the long term, that is fundamentally what's going to keep consumers trusted with us as companies that they engage with and buy from.
Yeah, I completely agree. So it's like, maybe the retail consumer is not aware how low the liquidity of certain coins can get, especially during bear markets. So I can maybe share an experience from last year, or I think a year and a half ago. So basically, the tokens that are out of the top 100 already have issues liquidity, and we as a platform have the same principle. So we take care of which tokens do we list. Not only that, we connect with multiple exchanges. So we basically pull prices out, and we see what's the liquidity on different venues where the token should be tradable. But to protect investors, the first thing to do is to prevent them to be stuck with an illiquid token, for example. Yep. So the listing criteria is part of what I think the platforms have to do, irregardless of the law.
Which is sort of to your initial question of the continuity pre and post MiCA. I think we're all already supposed, if we want to be serious, sustainable players, we have the checks in place already. I would then say that if they pass the checks, in my opinion, our first and foremost role should be to be a safe and reliable marketplace where people can buy and sell what they want, right? So you provide liquidity, that's our role in the ecosystem, as long as they pass the checks. And I'm still not a big fan of meme tokens because I actually am in it for the technology. So when a project doesn't have technology, okay, maybe it doesn't feel that good to me, but is it should I impose what I think of coins? If they pass all the checks, I think we also shouldn't discriminate towards these coins. If the entire Netherlands wants to have them, I think at least we see it as our role to provide a safe environment where you can then trade them.
Yeah.
But they have to pass all the initial checks, of course.
Now, and environment gets safer, right? I mean, not just with the MiCAR, but I think also this huge quality seal of approval, the Bitcoin ETF, right? It gave this massive influx of capital. And curious to learn from your perspective, like how does this increasing involvement of institutional investors, how is it shaping the market? And what kind of implications might it have for the retail investors?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty simple. Like, institutional investors legitimize this space for retail investors to engage and participate. And I think the ETF approvals have been like a monumentous moment in the history of crypto for them getting approved, because there is now an SEC-regulated way for institutions for whom regulation is so incredibly important to even start participating in the first place. It is available, and I think that's what we've seen, the liquidity that has moved into the market. If BlackRock does something that will make a retail consumer who might have been a little bit hesitant to actually do something directly themselves within the space, it makes them feel confident because, highly regulated organizations are willing to participate and engage. So it's very much a flywheel. The more institutional engagement that we're seeing the bigger the impact that it's going to have on the retail space, and then demand will increase again. So it's a very positive cycle in my mind.
Now, you're all based in Europe, you're all based in the Netherlands. One of the more challenges that was coming up was with the biggest, by far, stablecoin of the world, Tether. I think by the end of this month, it's not allowed anymore to use on your platforms. How are you guys dealing with this? Are you just delisting it? Are you guiding customers? Are you
looking at me?
No, we're just
Or I was looking at Remy, actually.
You can all look at me, that's okay, but what do you think?
I think that's a good question, and it's not an easy answer, unfortunately.
We have the time.
We were briefly talking about it. I have journalists asking the same questions. So first of all, it's not only USDT. I think USDC, as far as we are speaking now, is in the same situation and more.
Circle, so you
Circle, correct. Yeah. That one, there's a bit more light maybe at the end of the tunnel, but we don't know if it's in 11 days from now. And the reality is, so this is the pre-MiCA, this is what MiCA is going to bring as well, is us exchanges asking regulators their opinion, and depending on whom you're speaking with, the answer is not always the same. So that's what MiCA is bringing as well. It's sometimes unclarity on topics that were clear so far. We process 99% of our volume, actually 100%, in euros, and I think Dutch investors are trading in euros primarily, so I don't think there will be a huge impact. I don't think actually, well, Coinbase has USDT pairs, but I would assume European investors trade in euros. So it is still a question mark, and I don't think, as far as we are concerned, we haven't made a clear decision. We're still waiting the next 10 days, hoping there will be a clear answer, but it is not as clear as it seems so far.
No. Remy, for you?
Yeah, same. It's an evolving story, so there's at this moment no way to answer that very concretely. However, one foundation has spoken out about not supporting the Eurozone or focusing that much on the Eurozone, and the other has said that they actively want to work together with regulators. So if you were to make a bet, it looks more in favor of USDC, but as Julian pointed out, at the moment USDC also still doesn't have it. So evolving.
One thing which is an opportunity, though, is Euro stablecoins, because Euro-regulated stablecoins or USD-regulated stablecoins in Europe actually might start winning a lot more market share, because let's be honest, no one trades in Euro stablecoins today. It's extremely marginal. So there is a really clear opportunity for issuers that are EU-regulated towards retail and institutional to offer regulated stablecoins in euro. So that's something Europe might be proud of, because essentially we might gain market share from the stablecoin market, which is dominated by the USD overwhelmingly so far.
Might be a very nice, interesting business opportunity there. Now, everybody was saying like, yeah, crypto will replace the banks. But now there's also people who say like, yeah, but now DeFi is going to replace the cryptocurrency exchanges. Does the rise of decentralized finance, DeFi, and decentralized exchanges, DEXs, pose a fundamental challenge to you guys, to traditional centralized exchanges. And how can these two models exist? Can these two models exist?
Maybe I'll say at the end, I don't believe that the way a business is structured and organized will impact, because sooner or later when things go big, it's about the brand and the user experience. So my long-term view on this is that they will coexist, the guys who will develop a great product with a great user experience, being a centralized or decentralized way, they're just simply going to win the game. So in a sense, it's a trivial question, so to speak, because it's just about having really a good offering and a good product on the long run. Of course, there are many different challenges also for DeFi that maybe people are not so familiar with, like where do you get the liquidity, the KYC, the AML, customer diligence stuff, and so on. So I think you have a quite good strategy. You are sitting on both.
Yeah, exactly. I was about to say we're super bullish on this. Like, we don't see this as a zero-sum game. This is a humongous market, and there is plenty of space for multiple protocols. And DeFi can actually fill the gap that like centralized exchanges leave behind. And I think today, as you said, like from your Coinbase wallet, with one click you have access to DeFi. Fundamentally, the more people that engage within the crypto economy, the better. So we don't see it as a problem or like competition at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's very clever to have a hybrid model. The unique benefits of DeFi being fully autonomous and not having to trust. But when you're not decentralized, the benefits of centralization are speed, customer care, and that will probably always be the case. So use the best of both worlds.
Ah, beautiful. Now, we're going to close down this conversation a bit, but with this one, well, we can make it a very easy question, when moon, but let's make it a little bit more professional, a little bit more high skill.
Make it when March, and then it's more professional.
Exactly. So what is this development, this one development, maybe more developments that you guys are looking forward to in the upcoming months happening that could lead to, let's say, another bull run, to lots more enthusiasm in the market? Is it just this Ethereum ETF? Is it Trump winning the elections? I don't know. Let us close us down this conversation with this question. Remy.
I think I'm most excited about seeing more actual usability for end users. So better user interfaces combined with increased scalability and more usage of DeFi products. So I think DeFi is, for me, one of the most interesting things that came out of the blockchain space. But what's lacking with blockchains and crypto is often the scalability and the usability. So hopefully in the next 5 years, we'll see great innovations on that front. And
upcoming months? One thing.
Upcoming months. Upcoming months would maybe still, like, I haven't seen enough yet from account abstractions, just another buzzword, or not a buzzword, but an interesting, another way to create wallets where you sort of have the best of both worlds. So autonomous wallets, but with more customer care, let's say.
Autonomous wallets.
Combined with the ZK, in other words, zero knowledge advancement, scalability.
That were, again, a lot of buzzwords.
I don't know, I'm a crypto nerd, there's so many interesting things to explore.
That's okay.
To me, these are exciting.
No specifics. I think the ETFs could be something that's here. We just passed halving. Usually the bull run started after it. I'm quite really interested in to see how this bull run will develop. I think it might be a bit different. There is a lack of really narratives. Like, the last one was all about DeFi, these promises, how they will change the world of finance. That turned out not to be right. So I don't see that strong of a retail narrative at the moment. So I'm neutral.
Neutral. Yeah, I think ETFs, obviously, I'm not going to go dwell on regulation, but I do think that's going to be a catalyst. I think what I'm excited about, I agree with you, Remy, is like more real-world use cases. Like, I'm excited to see, especially within the stablecoin space, like big payment giants like PayPal and Stripe, really engaging as well. Like today, as a merchant on Stripe via USDC, they can basically accept payments on Ethereum, Solana, Polygon, instantly transferring back to fiat. Like, fantastic. Where you're seeing PayPal do, PayPal now allows for stablecoin cross-border transfers in over 160 countries and 0 transaction fees, where that normally is more around the 4, 5, 6%.
Yeah.
I mean, that's massive for the remittances market. And I think those are the use cases that are going to normalize crypto a lot more. So I'm excited to see, I guess, more of that coming into play.
Wonderful.
I would follow interest rate quite closely. I think interest rate movements in the coming months might actually have a strong impact on crypto and on the stock market. But what you look at is the stock market is at all-time high. Will that continue? I have my opinion on it. I think it might come down a little bit. And that combined with potentially lower interest rate might naturally benefit crypto and any risky asset classes. So this is something that I think will have a strong impact. You were mentioning Trump. I don't think it's something to be undermined, actually, because if the US has a strong stance towards crypto, it might also have, especially on the institutional level, American companies feeling like, hey, okay, we're going to be 4 years and we know that we can engage in crypto without having a clear direction. And as far as I'm concerned, I would say that altcoin have been lagging behind, so I would follow them a bit more closely than Bitcoin, who is now a very institutionalized crypto, a lot more stable lately than any altcoin, actually. Bitcoin is sort of very steady because it's extremely liquid, so it's very hard for anyone to move the price of Bitcoin 10% now. It needs billions to really move. Whereas altcoin have been, they're still 50, 60, 80% lower than their all-time high. So we might see a switch between Bitcoin to altcoins, and that could be propelled by lower interest rates, both in the US and in Europe.
Wonderful. Yeah, guys, thank you. I mean, I still remember I bought my first Bitcoin in 2013 and sold them. That's another painful story. But
Do you still have it? That's the question.
No, it's sold.
It was so much.
He bought his own token instead.
We're not going to talk about that. But I remember how difficult, how technical it was. Like, and I'm a nerd, but still, and how I see you guys now operating in such a way. You make it so much more easy. I think you're really playing this vital role in growing the adoption of the entire, of the technology of cryptocurrencies and so forth. There's a lot of questions coming in about derivatives, about Base, of course, the great things that you guys are doing with Coinbase, the listing process. Not sure if there's people here that want to sell a coin. You guys are here around. Some of you even have a booth with colleagues that are happily answering the questions. For now, I really would like to thank you for this conversation. Thanks so much.
For having us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Dank u wel. Many thanks, Peter.
Thank you
Elke, of
for
course.
having us.
Thank you so much. Thank you.